Hi guys, we are back, and with me I have Dr. Vinesha Selvarajah from Asia Pacific University. She's going to take you through a very interesting topic about cybersecurity in the education system. So I'm going to give you a brief introduction about Vinesha. Dr. Vinesha is currently a lecturer at APU, Asia Pacific University in Malaysia. She is also a Rocheston certified trainer. She has been actively involved in conducting cybersecurity awareness trainings and workshops for students in both higher education and high schools. She currently is a master's cybersecurity lecturer at APU. She's conducted several talks and workshops on leveraging the importance of cybersecurity, hands-on training for students and faculty members in the areas of cybersecurity and cyber forensics. So thank you so much, Vinisha, for being with us today and sharing your views. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Aditya. Hi, everyone. I'm Vinesha here, and I'll be taking you through a journey on how to bridge the gap of cybersecurity in education system. Now, I'm glad to have all of you guys here and glad to be here as well. And it was a very exciting keynote address by Mr. Aman, I would say. He really set the stage for all of us. So now I'm going to talk about bridging the gap of cybersecurity in the education system. So to begin with, let me just show you what I'll be touching on today. I'll be starting off with tackling the cybersecurity attacks in education sector. And then we're going to look into the cybersecurity pedagogy in higher education, as well as elementary and secondary education. Okay, in this case, we would say that is high school students and elementary school students as well. So focusing more on the cybersecurity attacks in education sector. First thing first, now we understand that cybersecurity has recently since been a very important topic in many industries, but little attention is focused on the education sector. So we're going to go through that today so that I'm going to share with you why education sector is an important area that we should also be focusing in. Okay, now let's start off with this. One question. Why do you think education sector is being a target if you don't already know? I mean, we hear a lot of attacks being focused on banking institution, manufacturing, airlines, so many different industry. But education sector is one of the important industry we have to look at as well. Now, think about this, guys. Why do you think the education sector is being a target of cybersecurity attacks today? Just think about it. Now, here's some statistics that I would like to share with you guys. According to the VMware Cybersecurity Report, okay, this is one of the outcomes of the report. Now, this is reporting for universities in the UK alone. So let's look at what we have here. Now, in the UK alone, they already did a research, and it says that almost 87% of the universities in UK have experienced at least one cyber attack in the study, right? And then 1 in 3 UK universities are facing cybersecurity attack every hour. So every hour there's at least one attack. And we're talking about UK here, right? Then we have 25% of these attacks involving UK universities had their intellectual property stolen. Now, when you talk about higher education here, we talk about education sector. Of course, we have the degree programs, the master programs, and then we have the PhD, and we have this research and the grants and intellectual property being established in all this university. So 25% of this university had their IP stolen. About 28% had their research grant data attacked. Now we have research grants in university as well, where researchers apply for grants and for their research project and get a huge amount, could be up to $1 million. So these are the attacks that has been done in the UK alone. And of course, there are many more. Now take a minute to think about this. We're talking about the universities in UK, where we assume that the infrastructure, the facilities would be better off, right? So if this is happening in the universities in UK alone, take a minute to ponder on what would happen to the universities that are set up in all the other nations, for example, developing countries or underdeveloped countries. So we have universities there as well. So when you look at this infrastructure, now they are going to be a very easy target here, right? So this is why I personally feel that we should now focus on protecting protecting this education sector from being being one of the target of cybersecurity attacks here. So let me show you a few examples. If you don't already know, this happened in a couple of years. Look at this. Chinese hackers target university in pursuit of maritime military secrets. Cyber attacks attacking universities here to steal information. Perhaps they're doing research on this maritime military secrets and all. So these hackers are attacking these universities in pursuit of all this secret information. We have another one here. Ransomware attack. I think you guys may have heard from Mr. Aman's keynote address just now about ransomware attack. So here, there's one university here called Maastricht University, which actually paid the ransom of 220,000 US dollars to the cyber groups. Why? Simply because they were attacked, their system was locked down, essential credential and data were all locked down. So they had to pay the ransom of $220,000, and that's not a small amount here. I've got more to show you. Instead of showing you statistics, and I will show you actual news here. So look at this one. This one happened in May 2020. It was reported on May 2020. Now we are all aware of the current pandemic crisis all around the world, right? So there are education institution or research institution which are working day and night in looking for a cure, perhaps a vaccine for COVID-19 pandemic, right? So look at this. Foreign powers hacking UK universities to steal what? What's their motive here? To steal information or secrets in COVID-19 research. So it is there and it is happening. Then we have this. How is this happening? How are hackers attacking universities? How are they launching attacks here? 62 universities were hacked through vulnerability in web application. Now think about this. I mean, we all had a time when we are in university, and I am a lecturer in one. So in universities, we have lots of system, internal system, third-party system, applications where students log in, access their attendance, probably look for timetables and all these things. It's a more of a communication thing here. So with a single vulnerability in this web application, hackers would already leverage the vulnerability and gain access to this, right? So I'll tell you why and how they do it later in a bit. And then we have this. Look at this. Georgia Tech database hack. 1.3 million records of the students and the faculty were stolen. This is information leaking, right? Promise you this is going to be the second last. Phishing attack. Now, one of the methods they use in launching this hack is called the phishing attack, right? So this happened in the Lancaster University. It was targeted by phishing attack used to send fake invoices. And last but not least, look at this. Hackers beat university cyber defenses in just 2 hours. So this one happened in a university which had security infrastructure in place. So what happens, it only took them near 2 hours to get into the system. So these are just some evidence here and there. Of course, there are many more attacks that are happening to the education sector. So then it comes to this question here. Now, how? How is this happening? How are they launching this attack? Number one, of course, we have phishing. If you don't already know what is phishing, it means creating a illegitimate website that looks similar to the original website. So when someone launches a phishing attack, see, in the education sector, your stakeholders are basically students, and then you have the staff members, the lecturers, and all the administrative people. So what happens here if the lack of cybersecurity knowledge or awareness will lead to them being a target of phishing attack here? So that's only one. Now let's look at the second one, ransomware. Of course, you've seen the news just now. Ransomware here, we are looking at financial gain, financial motivation here. If the university is a huge university with thousands and thousands of student enrollment, with research and grants and everything, all the hackers want to do is just go in, gain access to your system, encrypt all your files, lock you out of it, and then demand a ransom. Now, what's going to happen here? If you don't have a backup, if the university doesn't have a proper infrastructure in backing up their data, or proper security in preventing these hackers from getting into it, now chances are they're going to be left with no choice. They have to pay the ransom, and that's where hackers gain leverage. Then we have DDoS here. Now, what is DDoS? Is distributed denial of service, of course. So in this case, the hacker is looking at going in and disrupting all the services there, as long as the company doesn't get to perform what they're performing on a daily basis. And that can do a damage. Now, we have to look at this as well. We have something called the insider threats. Now, more often, about 70% of the time, whatever attacks that happen in any companies or any system is usually by a disgruntled employee here. So when you ask yourself, what is a disgruntled employee? It means an employee who's working in the organization, they are simply unhappy. So they're unhappy, so they leak information and they give leverage to hackers to perform any hacks. So that's disgruntled employee. And most of the time, it will be student or employee error, because we are really looking at education sector as a whole here. So when you look at education sector as a whole, you're not just looking at IT-centric universities. You're not just looking at IT-centric or cybersecurity-centric universities here. We also have non-IT-centric university here. So what happens then? What are the knowledge level or the awareness level of the student and the staff there in terms of cybersecurity, in terms of safety? Now, of course, in the non-IT or non-IT centric universities, we could estimate, or we could assume that these students and employees, they may not have prior or sufficient knowledge in protecting their system. It could be devices, it could be accessing system, it could be credentials. Now, it is very important for them to know these things, because at the end of the day, every businesses, including the education sector, is moving towards technology. And we have this thing called the education technology coming in place now. In fact, in this COVID pandemic, everybody is moving towards online learning, online teaching, and that's educational technology being put in place in IT-centric and non-IT-centric universities, right? And we also have, lastly, the unsecured personal devices. So how are these people accessing this system? For example, online learning. See, I come from a university called APU, and we do online learning on a daily basis, right? So to cater our students, to ensure that our classes go on, so we use educational technology and everything. But what happens at the other end that we can't control is the personal devices used by the students. Of course, in terms of lecturer, we have our own devices that were given by our organization. It's secure and it has its own protection and all this. But what about at the other end, where the students are accessing these online classes? What if those devices were not secure? That could happen, right? And at last but not least, it's the vulnerability security application and infrastructure. So if you're looking at an IT-centric university or a cybersecurity-centric university, this wouldn't be a big problem, because they have all this in place. But assume that if it's non-IT centric, then this would be a bigger issue here. We could also think about that, okay, if it's not an IT-centric university, so what could we do here is we could invest in the cybersecurity infrastructure. But I'm getting you to the next slide, so you will understand that part, what I want to say. So first, let's ask ourselves, why are they being a victim here? Why our education sector is being a victim to cybersecurity attacks here today? Now, if you look at this graph here, I'm not sure if you can see that. That's a study was conducted by Security Scorecard here that looks at the state of cybersecurity in different industries. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you look at that graph there, or that chart there, you would see that education sector is the last in that graph. And when you see it at the very bottom, it means that it's the bottom performer of having cybersecurity infrastructure or systems in place. But then again, you look at the highest there. I mean, we have the healthcare, we have the technology, we have the hospitality, the transport department. But guys, look at which industry is the top performer in cybersecurity. It's no other than food. Can you imagine that? The food industry. They have the best cybersecurity implementations there. And where's education? At the rock bottom. So why? Why are they at the rock bottom, and why are they becoming a victim here? Number one, I would say, let's first put aside IT-centric and non-IT-centric university here. One of the main problem here would be lack of resources. Lack of resources can be in terms of finance, it can be in terms of planning, it can be in terms of budgeting, it can be in terms of infrastructure here. So lack of resources are known to be one of the main reason why they are being education sector is being a victim here. Then we have the lack of staffing. See, in a non-IT centric university, you need to have proper security analysis in place, proper IT manager in place, network analyst, incident responder. You need to have all this team in place to ensure that your system is protected, or at least updated, or at least hardened, right? So that is one of the issue here, lack of staffing. Then we have budget limitations. How many universities? We're looking at developed nation. Now let's look at the developing nation. How much budget limitations we have there to implement proper security infrastructure, hardening, keeping up of this implementation? How much of budget do we have there? So that's also being a number one issue. And of course, open networks and application. Some of the university, they may rely on third-party applications, open network. Like I'm going to quote one of Mr. Aman said just now, the admin credentials will not change. So these are some of the reasons why they would become a victim. And of course, poor security infrastructure, as you can see what security scorecard have mentioned there. So now we go for what do they want from you? I mean, if you're a banking institution, I can say, yeah, there's a lot of things that we want to hack and get from you. We want your credentials, we want to access your account, perform transaction. It's a financial institution, for God's sake. But this is an education institution where you got students, where you got staff, you got lecturers, you got modules, you're teaching students, you're giving them the qualification and all. So what is really there in the education sector that makes hackers, that attracts them in performing hacks? Think about it. What could be the reason? I mean, what do they have that we want? And when I say we, I mean hackers here. So think about it. What do they want? Now, money, perhaps, maybe. Now let's look at it. The first one will be financial opportunities. Of course, at the end of the day, it comes down to one thing, profit, right? Hackers, most of the time, they do this because of profit margins. They want to get easy money. They want to get easy money. Okay, so what they do, they perform hacks. Now let's look at what kind of financial opportunities are we looking at. First one, of course, I think you already know, that's ransomware. As long as I find a loophole, I get into the system, I capture your data, I lock it down. I encrypt all of it so that no student can access them, no staff can access them, and your business cannot operate, even though it's an educational sector business. So now your business is not going to operate. It's as much as your organization being shut down. And then you face a lot of issues there. You face loss, you face defamation, you face, the name itself ruins, right? So that's ransomware. But another interesting part in financial opportunity here is rerouting finances here. Now we're going to look at universities that have strong research base. Now when you do research, we're talking about grants here. We're talking about intellectual properties here. We're talking about secrets, some that are publishable, some they are not. So we're looking at all these things. So hackers are also looking at this. Now they could be looking at your grants, like how much grants your university is having, and those grant money is stored somewhere. They will want to read out those finances or lock it down for you. We are looking at intellectual properties. So these IP, these patents, they make a lot of money, so they want to steal it from you. And at the end of the day, they're also looking at scholarship money. I mean, it has to be somewhere, right? So those are what they're looking at. Those are the financial opportunity they are looking at to get their hands on it. They want a piece of the cake, right? Then we're looking at sensitive credential. Now, if you don't know, look at this. In an education institution, it's a norm, right? There's thousands and thousands of students. And when the students enroll, I mean, they're taking so much of information from the students, and we have information from the staff as well. So what kind of information are we looking here? Bank account number, social security number, your passports, your healthcare information. These are all sensitive information that a hacker would think, hey, you're an educational institution. I don't think that your security infrastructure is going to be as strong as the ones that are implemented by a banking institution. So, hey, you're an easy target. and I still get information from you. I can look at your loans background, your bank account number, your social security number, and in fact, students, when they enroll, their parents' information are also in it. So what is there to lose? So that is how hackers are looking at it. And then we also have confidential research. We have maritime research, we have the military research. So all this kind of research are confidential. So if you are in the research line, you would know that conducting a research, the author is very important, the intellectual property is important, the patent is important, the ownership is important. So what if you, in the research, you came up with a breakthrough idea or a breakthrough product? So all these are confidential. They are looking at all this. So that is one of the few things that makes education sector becomes that piece of cake that every hackers want. And plus, it's so much simpler for them to hack an education system than, say, a banking or the US government or the military, right? So it's a piece of cake. And lastly, if they don't want to steal anything, they don't want to do it for financial gain, or they don't want to do it for profit, they would want to do it for damage. That's all they want. It could be from competitor university or competitor. So let's say there was one university with their education going on so well, research so well. A hacker can think that, okay, it's okay, I don't want to make any money from this. All I want to do is do damage. I want to disrupt your services. I want to make sure that your university don't run anymore. I want you to lose all your student database, lose your data, then get sued. And what will happen to the name of the university itself? That's it. Nobody wants to go there anymore. So it can be as much as damaging alone. So these are the piece of cakes that hackers are looking for when they are attacking education system. So we come back to the thing that we ask ourselves here. So what to do? I mean, if you don't have the financial means or you don't have the budget, so what do you do? I mean, what can we do? And again, I'm stressing, I'm going to press here. We're looking at IT-centric and non-IT centric. I mean, IT-centric, we have the resources. We have our students who are coming up, of course, students, right? So what are we supposed to do here? What are we going to do? Now, number one, make sure that securing any applications in an education system has to be done holistically. I mean, you don't want to jeopardize this. You don't want to jeopardize this, right? It has to be holistic. You invest your time, you invest your money in this. Of course, use encryption. Encrypt all communication. Encrypt your networks. Hardening firewall and security configuration. See, one of the mishap that causes attacks in education sector is probably security misconfiguration. So if you're not an IT-centric university, hire people, harden your firewall. And in fact, put in IDS and IPS, intrusion detection and intrusion prevention system. Use multi-factor authentication. If you ask me, we also have, hackers have a way to even bypass multi-factor authentication today, but no harm doing so if you don't already have that. And then create a security conscious culture. So I'm going to press on this. In fact, this is where I'm going to bring you towards the journey of the pedagogy in higher education and middle school, right? So you have to create a security conscious culture here. Why? Because today, our lives, you can talk about anything. You can talk about IoT, you can talk about systems. Everything is technology centric. Everything is technology. Tell me something or someone that doesn't have technology today in your life. I mean, you have a smartphone. It starts from a simple smartphone here. Then you have a laptop. Then you have your Wi-Fi connection. You have a tablet. So we are moving towards technology dependent culture here. So there's no way you can say security is not important anymore. So we have to create a security conscious culture here, whether it's in education sector, whether it's in high school, whether it's in higher education. It is a must today. It's not something, it's not optional anymore. It's important. So when you create a security conscious culture here now, whether it's an IT-centric university or non-IT-centric university, what happens here is that people will be more aware. So you prevent those data theft or hacks from human error, say weak passwords. So you create that security conscious culture here. That's very important. And you can have an open, yet secure communication, as long as you have a security conscious culture. And also another aspect here I would say is aligned to the use of clouds. We have many cloud service providers today. We have many cloud service vendors today. And this cloud comes with proper security applications or implementation in place. In fact, one of our speakers will talk about cloud security with you one of these days. So we have things like Cloudflare. So these are the applications and implementation of cloud security that they offer their customers in protecting their system, in protecting their data. So for example, if someone is launching a DDoS attack, Cloudflare does a good job segregating those network, those floods, and ensure that your site is still up and running. So align to the use of cloud. And of course, guys, this is very important. Secure your parameters. If you don't already know, now, today's hack doesn't just revolve in creating a backdoor, sending a malicious code, sending an SQL injection. No, it doesn't just revolve there anymore. You want to know the other side of it? We have hardware hacking devices today. If you haven't heard about it, we have the video ghost. It's just a cable. You plug into the monitor in your CPU, and that's it. You screenshot everything that goes on the screen without being detected, because those are hardware devices which you cannot detect. Your antivirus is not going to tell you, hey, look, you have a hardware hack inside your computer. Or better yet, a keylogger. You can have a built-in keylogger, or you have a keylogger that plugs in between the keyboard and the CPU of a computer. So if you don't secure parameters in the education institution, hey, I can just walk into your education institution and say that I'm taking a tour there, I'm just going to get to know somebody, or check out your courses and all, and then I head on to your labs, or head on to any PC plugin, or just plug in a backdoor or keylogger there. And these keyloggers comes with a built-in Wi-Fi today. All I have to do is sit at the car park, wait for the Wi-Fi connection, connect to the keylogger, and that's it. Everything that you type comes to the computer. So security parameters is very important. And if, let's say, even if your parameters are secured, see, if let's say I want to do it, let's say I really want to do it, all it takes me is to walk up to somebody in the university, probably a janitor, and I can bribe the janitor and say, hey, I know you're cleaning this person, this office, and probably someone important there, I want to hack that person. I'm not going to tell the janitor that I'm going to hack that person, of course. I'll say, here, I'm going to give you $100. Okay? Can you help me plug in this particular device at the back of the CPU of this person's computer? $100. Who doesn't want to do that? The janitor will say, okay, he doesn't know anything about all these things. He's going to do it. And that's it. I'm going to get access to it. If I can't get it for profit, at least I'm going to leak some information from that education sector. So securing parameters is very important here. So at the end of the day, guys, remember, creating a security conscious awareness is very important. So which brings me to the cybersecurity pedagogy here. So when we talk about cybersecurity pedagogy here, don't go too detailed, don't dwell too much into the word pedagogy. Now I'm talking about the teaching and the management of cybersecurity education here. So when we're looking at this, look at this. Number one, we're talking about cybersecurity education. With everything going towards technology-centric, I personally feel, I'm not sure about you guys, think about it. Don't you think that we need to instill cybersecurity education in all aspects of education, not just higher education, where it only matters those students who want to do cybersecurity? No, we're also talking about high school students and, of course, elementary school students here. So it's important. But then my next question is going to be, is it sufficiently done? I mean, I know my viewers are from everywhere, right? Ask yourself this question, is it sufficiently done? Are your sons and daughters in school learning about cybersecurity? Is the awareness enough? Is it really enough? That's the bigger question here. And I'm going to touch on this in two different areas. Let's look at the cybersecurity pedagogy in higher education. Now, I come from a university called APU. We are also a cybersecurity-centric university here. So my question at the end of the day into any other universities, any other education sector perhaps, is qualification versus a skilled professional or a skilled students. I mean, we are producing students, right? Are we focusing on the qualification alone, or we should also focus on the skills? And then come to the next question here, knowledge versus practical. Are we going to give them the knowledge, only the knowledge that they need? Or are we also focusing on the practical here? Right? So at the end of the day, how much is enough? A degree in cybersecurity, is it enough? Or a master in cybersecurity? Or we should focus on theories only? Or we should look at certifications here? Or practical? Now let me give you an example of where I come from. I come from a APU, right? Asia Pacific University. Here, we are a cybersecurity IT-centric university here. But we don't just focus on the qualification and the knowledge. I mean, that's there. That's there. Our students graduate. But here, what we look at is we look at upskilling our students as well. We look at leveraging on the practical skills of the students as well. So here we're talking about training, we're talking about competition, we're talking about certifications, we're talking about pushing the students into doing the best in their practical as well. Because at the end of the day, we don't want just a knowledgeable cybersecurity expert. We also want a skillful and practical cybersecurity experts. We want to produce those kinds of outcome, right? We don't want to go through the traditional base anymore. We want skills, because you can have a qualification, but you don't have any skills. I mean, you can have all the degrees, all the masters, all the PhDs you want. But again, when it comes to skills and practical, where are you at? But then again, when you look at someone who's super skillful and practical is there, I mean, they have upskilled themselves. They just take a few minutes to launch an attack, of course, ethically. Their knowledge automatically comes in. So focus on the skills then, right? We need to have a blended learning today. Now, and then promise you, this is going to be sort of my last slide. We're looking at elementary and middle school. So why am I stressing out here is because here, like Aditya said before, I've done talks in schools and, creating awareness among school students. Now, why? The question is, why is it important for us to instill this cybersecurity pedagogy right from the school, right from where you are in elementary, in fact, right from you, if you're in high school students? Why? Middle school students? Why? Why is it important? First question is, let me ask you this. Number one, we are all technological centric. I think I've used this word multiple times now. Because of what? We have this increased use of smartphone today, right? So why? In fact, you can look at kids in school today. I can say almost 80% of the students in middle school, in fact, elementary school, you will be surprised, right? They all have a smartphone. I mean, they don't take it to schools, in fact, but they all have a smartphone for communication. I mean, efficiency, right? So at home, smartphones are with your kids. But what are you really looking at? Now, your kids are they are opening doors for themselves to be on the internet. And the internet is a scary place. They have social medias. They are uploading pictures. They are talking to people. So look at what I have here. They are prone to cyberbullying as well. And then identity theft. I mean, students, they are honest, they are genuine, they are a bunch of people which doesn't have any record in anywhere. It can be identity theft. Maybe not when they're 10, perhaps when they're 17, 18. They are prone to child pornography even because of the pictures without restrictions that they're posting online behind their parents. And also, one of the very important things that I used to stress to my students is stranger danger. Do you know how many people are talking to them? Do you know who they're talking to in disguise? So these are all important reasons why we should instill the cybersecurity pedagogy in the elementary, secondary education. So I have a few, just 2 cents of me to tell you how we could do that. Number one, include the cybersecurity education in curriculum. In fact, it has to be normalized. It has to be a must. As much if you study math, science, whatever modules you're, cybersecurity has to be an important module here. We don't have to include sophisticated training modules. No, we can include basic training modules here. Or we can look at creating, these clubs in society like the cyber police in school. Yep, we can do that. We have to instill that at this very young age because they are our future, right? So with that, guys, I'm going to show you this. This is just what I had this morning. I just went on to Google and just looked for news on cyberbullying. And today alone, 15 hours ago, 18 hours ago, we're talking about cyberbullying on the internet. And who are we talking about cyberbullying here? We are talking about students, kids. They are young. They don't know how to protect themselves. It is there. It is a must, right? So with that, guys, I'm going to say this. So what? At the end of the day, ask yourself, so what? Number one, cybersecurity is essential in the education sector. It is not just all the important industry. Education industry is also one of the important industry that we have to look at, because we are generating intellectuals. We are creating the future. Number two, as the use of educational technology increases, we are all supporting education technology. There's a pressing need to include cybersecurity pedagogy or knowledge in every aspect of the education sector. Cybersecurity is more important now than it's ever been. We all know that. And the focus should be in education, protecting students and the safety of our future. With that, remember, guys, we are aware that this is now an issue. So it is our responsibility to secure the future of education, protect it. Because without education, we all start from education. So that's why I'm pressing here, start from education. And with that, I will end my talk for today. So if you have any questions, feel free to post it. I will attend to you. And over and back to you, Aditya.
Hi, Vinesha. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Aditya.
Thank you. That was a wonderful presentation. I think everyone enjoyed it. I see a lot of comments on stage. So any questions, guys? We'll just wait for a bit. Any questions? Digitally secure the future, Sherwin says. Yes, 100% I agree. So any questions, guys?
I'm just scrolling to see, did I miss any?
Let's ask your question, Vinesha. What
Okay,
do you,
no problem.
based on your talk about implementing it very early on for school students, because introducing at an early age automatically adds some interest in school students' lives, right?
Yeah.
How would you go about implementing, let's say, if cybersecurity is a very challenging topic? So how would you go about implementing it for lower levels of education? When I say that, I mean like school students, maybe 8th grade, 9th grade, and high school. How do you get them interested in cybersecurity in such a complex topic?
Thanks, Aditya. Now, you're talking about lower secondary or lower like elementary schools, right? Now, one way I would put it is gamify it. Kids loves games. They play games even on their smartphone. Do cybersecurity gamification. Gamify it. In fact, we have students now that is actually gamifying cybersecurity aspects, right? So we have, I've seen research gamifying network analysis, like what we do in Wireshark and all these things. They are gamifying it. So when you change it to game, just like coding, we have gamification of coding, where kids as young as 8 to 9 years old, they can literally code. Like it's all gamified with graphics and everything, turn left and right. We can do that. In fact, we're already doing that. So when you gamify, you turn something into gamification, that is it. You have caught their attention.
Awesome. I 100% agree, because I think what catches their interest the most are apps.
Yes.
So if you do that, I have another question from the audience. What are the common types of breaches in schools and higher education? How do students safeguard them against these breaches in cybersecurity infrastructures?
Okay, so when we're looking at the common types of breaches in school and higher education, at the moment we are looking at stolen credentials, because there's a few actually. Let me talk about one of it. We're talking about stolen credentials here because when you look at these children, these kids, they're not aware of what kind of credentials they have to use. They create funny looking email addresses, and they probably put passwords with no restrictions. It could be like a word from a dictionary plus their birth date or something like that. So they have no prior knowledge in how to secure themselves in that. So that is credential. Then we're also looking at what is this called, information or privacy. We were talking about privacy. There is no privacy there because kids these days, they don't know how bad is it if they post their pictures online. And kids are posting pictures like nobody's business. And another thing, definitely information leak and privacy here is because now I've seen kids personally. They have a smartphone. After school, I'm going here to eat, or I'm going to Subway, check in. I'm going to Starbucks, check in. And they do it on a weekly basis. So how hard is it for me if I want to kidnap someone by just looking at probably their Instagram or their Twitter and seeing that, oh, every Friday this person checks in Starbucks. All I have to do is just sit there and that's it. Yeah,
Thank
and
you, Vinisha. I think I'll ask one last question we have time for. How do you prevent making cybersecurity too complex? Preventing a bad user experience. This is very important, especially when you're trying to capture the imagination of a younger mind. If something gets too complicated, they don't want to use it. So, how do you prevent making it too complex by still helping them learn about it?
I would say break cybersecurity into components. I mean, we have a lot. Like you see, we have network and network Wi-Fi hacking. We don't need those stuff for them. I mean, we focus on the bigger problem here. So the problem is stolen credentials. They don't know how to secure their account. They don't know about information privacy. We focus on these components. I mean, we don't make it too complicated for them. Probably for lower level elementary, we could do like safeguarding their accounts, their pictures, their privacy. And then as they go to middle school, we can go, higher level. Because in the end, if we go to degree programs, it get more sophisticated. So don't focus on the entire cybersecurity as a whole. Look at the current problem like cyberbullying, identity theft, stranger danger. So we look at all these things and we focus on those areas. So we're not only providing awareness in cybersecurity, we are also curbing the main problem there. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Manisha. I think everyone really enjoyed your talk. I'm sure your students are lucky to have you as their lecturer.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me here.